So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very uneventful deadline day. Is what I think is the fairest way to put it. Things didn't come about. There was talks of Abde potentially up until whatever, maybe about 25 minutes ago, but he's on his way to Betis. So shop is closed, I would imagine, at Villa Park. Clement Lenglet obviously making it official today as he came in. And that seemed to be that for business for Aston Villa and the incomings. But I wanted to bring on Mark again. Some of you guys may remember Mark from a podcast a couple of weeks ago where we spoke about some transfers so far. And I wanted to bring Mark back again. Mark is somebody who's going to be popping in and out of the podcast as much as he'll have us over the course of this season as well. Mark, transfer window seems to have dropped like a dull stone today. I was convinced we would get some sort of a striker or somebody would come in, but I think when Lenglet was alone, I think in my heart of hearts I knew that we probably wouldn't be able to push somebody on a big money signing through the door, as we couldn't sign any more loans. But what's your view on the transfer window so far, or as it stands? Because
as it is,
I don't think we're going to sign anybody in the next 24 minutes. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah, I think it's become a bit of a theme, right, with Villa. I think I was saying yesterday I was at the Hibs game and I was kind of saying, like, I'd love it if tomorrow we just actually did something. Like, it just feels like forever since we've done something on deadline day, like something that wasn't already known, which I think is probably a good sign, if anything. But it's just that excitement. As long as it was a decent player, I wouldn't have minded somebody coming in today. I didn't think it would happen other than Lenglet coming in. I think in terms of striker was the only position for me that I think we could have really done with adding. But I think we would have had links to, we haven't been linked to an out and out striker in, I want to say, weeks, So I think it just clearly wasn't going to happen. I think the options weren't really there once some of maybe the main targets that could have been were off the board. So not surprising. I'm quite happy with the window as a whole and where the squad is. I think the only position I can really complain about, and it's not a big complaint, is in terms of depth is behind Watkins, if anything were to happen to him. But overall, pretty happy with the players we've brought in. I think they've all looked good so far, the ones that have come in. So no complaints.
Look, fantastic transfer window. I've just come from a spaces there with Cole and the guys in the whole cast. That's why we were a bit delayed. And I was saying it there as well. I think Aston Villa have been super, super smart in this transfer window. Like, we've signed players. We've broken our transfer record. We've also signed a really, really good player on a free transfer, and we've brought in two very good players on loan deals as well. So we've been economical with our cash, and we've really squeezed as much juice out of the stone as we possibly could. And I genuinely mean that, because we've brought in players. Every single player to a man has played European football and is used to doing the Thursday, Sunday, or the Wednesday, Sunday trudge around Europe. And that's huge for this club, because you need to have that experience. You need to have that ability for, and we have those across all the lines now, if that makes sense, defense, midfield, and attack. And I think that's been really important. I think it's something that Unai Emery looked at, players who are used to playing in these big surroundings and mixing it up with showing their durability to a point. I know Zaniolo aside, but showing your durability over a 50 game season as opposed to a 38 game season, is something that's really, really impressive. The way that we went about our business, I think, was still really impressive, because we've beaten big teams to the likes of Moussa Diaby. We've beaten big teams to Pau Torres. All available evidence is that Spurs were making a massive beeline for Clement Lenglet again as well, but they were waiting to see what the contractual status was, and they didn't want to sign him on loan. So he's come to Aston Villa too. So yeah, I'm very happy with the transfer window. But my heart and heart's the greed within me, which is high, wanted another attacker. Albeit I didn't really didn't really know whether it was going to be a striker because we've just not been linked to any. But I always thought the only plausible player that we would have signed in the attacking position today would have been Abde.
Yeah.
But that's not going to happen now because he's on his way to Betis, and it's a really strange agreement. I think Betis have just essentially paid 7 million for 50% of his rights, and Barcelona still hold 50% of his rights. So it's essentially a sell to buy back. I would imagine that he'd be back at Barcelona in the next 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, that was. I mean, I remember you mentioning it the other day that was maybe a name to kind of watch, and I mean, it would have been an interesting signing, but it still didn't strike me as something that was really necessary. I think it would have been nice. If you can sign a talented player, you always want to do that, but I don't think. Is it a play that would have come in and really helped us immediately? Maybe not. It's more of maybe a long-term play. And like you say, if you kind of the terms that you're dealing with Barcelona are those kind of terms where it's a 50% rights, it's just not really worth it. And I think that's the stage Villa are at now. We're on the other end of those kind of deals now. Is selling younger players to Sheffield United, to Burnley. Your Cameron Archers and your Aaron Ramseys, with where we're looking to have the buyback options on them. So yeah, I just think it would have been nice just for the excitement factor to have something happen late, but. I mean, Emery said it today that he's happy. I suppose what else is he going to say? But he said he was very happy with the squad, and I think it's hard to disagree with that. I think the signings that we brought in, once we've got everybody back to fitness as well. I mean, watching the game last night, I was thinking you've still got Aaron Ramsey to come back in, Jacob Ramsey, sorry, to come back into this squad, who's started near enough every game last season, and there's no guarantee that when he comes back he's going to get into the team. Such is the quality of it now. And obviously Alex Moreno as well is going to come back, and Luca Digne has been giving him a run for his money at left back. So I think the quality is definitely there, unless you suffer a kind of a rash of injuries. We've already had a couple, but at least they happened early enough that we were able to kind of react and fill those gaps.
Yeah, it's and look. Everybody can, and I'm sure I haven't opened the comments yet. I'm just reading down through Twitter to see if anything is, in the last 18, 19 minutes, if anything is going nuts at the moment, but it's not. No, it's not. It looks like some deals are actually off. Some big deals I thought were going to happen.
Yeah, it's been a lot about today.
Yeah, it seems to be like Patson Daka isn't going to Bournemouth at the moment, and it looks like that guy from Paris Saint-Germain, whose name I can never pronounce, the striker who is now being usurped by Kuduma. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. He's on his way to Crystal Palace, which looks good. I think I suppose my biggest question to you as well, Mark, is something I was thinking about recently. Is that maybe obviously there's players that are still potentially on their way out from this squad. Maybe they mightn't go at all, and if they don't go, maybe it bulks up our squad again. And we're in a position where we look at it and we say, "Oh well, we aren't down that amount of attackers that we thought we would be down." Like if Philippe Coutinho doesn't go, I for transparency, I do think he will go. If he doesn't go, if there's a hitch there and he doesn't go to Qatar, well then he comes back into our squad and he's fit. How fit and durable he will be, who knows? Maybe Jadon Philippe Jean-Baptiste hasn't been announced yet. It just hasn't been announced yet. And they were saying that there was a hang up on the buyback part of his of the deal. Maybe that doesn't go through. And things start to look a small bit rosier if you have those two players. Now I'm not saying that they will happen. I fully expect both of those to leave the club. But speaking as we're speaking right now, that would be a boost to the squad. But the question I wanted to ask you is, if Coutinho goes, and obviously with Buendia being injured for the whole lot of the season, we haven't brought in that exact type of player to come in and play that position, which Emery kind of played almost every single game last year. He had somebody in that position, that type of player. And I know people are going to say Diaby will play in there and Zaniolo will play in there. They're not the same type of player as Coutinho and Buendia. And it got me thinking, maybe Unai Emery has with the injuries, has kind of said, okay, I need to change up the way the team is going to play. And we're not going to focus on that area. And that's why we haven't replaced it. And that's why when Jacob Ramsey comes back from injury, and obviously having Zaniolo in there, that we have that kind of Leon Bailey obviously not going anywhere, and Moussa Diaby, we have that flexibility to have that interchangeable back three playing behind the front player. What's your thoughts on that? Am I overthinking that in the fact that they haven't really replaced that exact type of player in Coutinho and Buendia?
No, I don't think you're overthinking it at all. I tend to agree, really. I think when Zaniolo came in, and I mean, we talked about it at the time, he's not a similar player to Buendia in almost any way, even though he was brought in kind of as a direct replacement. I think it's been interesting that John McGinn's now been moved out to the left side, where he almost exclusively last year was playing on the right side and cutting in on his stronger left foot. He's been moved out to the left, so he's almost become that kind of that Buendia role, I suppose. And you've seen it in the last couple of games. The kind of obviously the Diaby goal against Burnley, he's been able to play some of those passes through. As much as he's probably not as good of an incisive passer as maybe Buendia is. And that's part of the reason why McGinn's been playing out wide and why he didn't work out so well under Gerrard when he was playing centrally. Is he tends to try and hit those home run passes and they don't always come off. But we've been getting him in those spaces that Buendia in pre-season was occupying, where he was drifting in from the left. So he's kind of filled that role, but it does look different and it feels different, especially with what we've seen the last couple of games, where you have had more of a back three at most of the time, and the two. One fullback and one who's supposed to be playing centre back have pushed all the way forward, onto the wings, and you've got that front five that he seems to want to get. Against Hibs last night, you had Duran, Kellerman, and then you had the two wing backs out there, and then you would have maybe, whoever was playing on the left hand side last night would have been in there, would have been up there as well. Yeah, but Bailey would have been in the front five, so that's kind of. So I think he's definitely adapted it a little bit, and I think that's the good thing with Emery, is that you always know he's going to be able to come up with an answer for something. He's going to be able to. He walked into this team and basically just said, "Okay, here's what I can do with these players in October," and got them going pretty quickly. What system can I put them in? It so happened that they suited the system he ran at Villarreal quite well, so it was a pretty easy transition. But you just know he's always going to be able to adapt to what the game calls for and what players he's got. So I think it is a little bit different, and I think Zaniolo, I think he could have like a really, really big part to play once he settles down, and really make that kind of spot next to Watkins his own, and then open up the wide areas for Diaby, Bailey, whereas maybe Diaby originally the plan might have been for him to play off the striker. So yeah, I think it's going to be a bit different, but it's still the same kind of shell. It's all similar, but it's just tweaks, I think.
Yeah, and I think not having the Coutinho and the Buendia player in a way makes it easier for us to play through the middle. Yeah. They were people who the six always just dropped back on and sat on all the time because they popped up in that position. Buendia was great. Don't get me wrong. I hope Buendia's injury, I hope he comes back around Christmas time, after Christmas time, as one of these miraculous recoveries. I really, really do, because he created a load of space. He created a lot of space in that area, and that was part of our resurgence. Yes, was he wasteful with the ball? He was, but he created a lot of space. But now what we have is more dynamism with regards to Diaby, Zaniolo, and McGinn to a greater degree as well, getting into that space, but different players popping up in that space now, where it was very much Buendia was tasked with being that man to kind of create the space inside there now. So I think there's been a shift in thought process, I think, with regards to that, probably brought about by the injuries, but I think naturally over the course of the season, to be flexible tactically, it probably would have changed anyway, and maybe that's why we haven't seen a direct like for like replacement. And even going back to the game last night against Hibs, before the game, I said I would have liked to have seen Tommy O'Reilly come on in that position. Now, Tommy O'Reilly didn't come on. He started for the 21s tonight. They had a great 3-1 win. There's a lot thought of that. A lot thought of Tommy O'Reilly as well. There's a lot thought of Travis Patterson. We've got Rory Wilson, but they're not Premier League standard yet. They're not Premier League ready yet. And it'd be interesting to see if we're going to have subs benches again this year with two goalkeepers, and that's going to piss 99% of fans off. But it's going to be fine. Like, it's not going to be a defining part, I think, of between here in January, unless we get injuries. But there's always that kind of caveat with regards to, I suppose, with regards to any professional sports team. I think so. I'm going to open up the comments and see what the crack is. How's everybody doing? Yeah, good to see you back, Agent Dunai Emery. Good to see you back. Haven't seen you in a while. So what's the point of this? Jesus, you put that in at 10 o'clock. You put that in at 10 p.m. That was 30 minutes before the podcast. So you arrived 30 minutes for a podcast you didn't want to listen to. That's serious commitment, man. Fair play to you. Fair play to you. I appreciate it, but it's,
Gotta respect
never
it.
happens for us. Yeah, I don't understand other than to get. Yeah. Okay, for full transparency as well, Agent Emery, this video would probably make about €2 before YouTube take their cut in ad revenue, because they'll probably get maybe about 1,000 views. Maybe if we're lucky, you might get 1,100, 1,200 views. Probably make about €2 and change, somewhere along the lines. And yeah, as you can tell, I'll probably be holidaying in Marbella off the back of that as well, for sure. So yeah, it certainly isn't about the money anyway. The reason I'm doing this is because I've got fuck all else to do on a Friday night at 10:30. So yeah, let's knock that one on the head anyway, for sure. Where else are we? Good to see all you guys. Good to see you, Michael. Good to see you, Rachel. Good to see you, Lionel. Good to see you, Shane. So Shane says great window. Very happy. Look again in January. Yeah, I think there will, like, obviously the January window opens again, and I think the club have been a bit smart. Like, they've been smart on one day, and they've also, I think you can make the argument that there's been a sense of potential arrogance in this as well by not going and strengthening the striking department. But then again, we didn't do it last year in January, and we were just fine. But we were a Watkins injury away from being Wolves. Like when Wolves had no striker to play as well. I don't think it would be that bad, but in the fact that they just couldn't score goals. I think we are supplementing goals from all around the field as well. So I think if you can replace the work rate of Watkins up top, that he's brought so far this season, I think that they will still be able to supplement goals from the likes of Bailey, the likes of John McGinn, the likes of Douglas Luiz, the likes of Moussa Diaby, Zaniolo, Jacob Ramsey when he's back. So there are goals still within the team anyway, I think, for sure. But yeah, we really, really have to pray to the gods that our striking department, that we don't pick up 2 injuries in Duran and Watkins. For sure. I didn't even look beforehand to see was there any free transfers. I know that Papo Gomez, the Sevilla ex-Sevilla 5'9" Argentinian 35-year-old is on the market. There's a bang of Monchi off that one, I think, if it was to come to it. But also there's also a bang of getting 40 million to go out in wages to go out and play in the Saudi off that one as well. So I don't think there's anything in that, but I wouldn't rule it out. There's probably about 5% chance that he could be Villa bound. But then again, that's short-termism once more. Could get us to the period of when Bundia is back, and maybe if there was a 1-year deal for him to come play in the Premier League, that might be something. Maybe take 800 minutes or something over the course of the season. I don't know. But once again, it's very, very short-termism, very short-termism. What do you think? Do you think there's anything in that? Because he's still able to go. He played 19 games for Sevilla last season. He scored a couple of goals too.
I don't think so. I wouldn't have thought so. I think in terms of kind of profile of player he is, I just don't think that's going to solve anything. I think if you're bringing him in, it's yet another option for me who's going to play.
Line, I had it in there as well. Sorry, I didn't read down that far.
If this is actually happening, then I'm an idiot, because I was like, no chance. But I mean,
no, he's not. No, this was ages ago. This was popped in before the podcast started.
I just think you're bringing in yet another player that ideally plays off a striker, and we've now got lots of players that can do that. I don't think that's it's not going to solve your number 9 issue. He's not going to lead the line for you. I think that would have been the only issue that was a glaring need, really. Like you say, is it someone that can come in and just take minutes and do some minutes, especially in the Conference League, so other players don't have to? Yeah, but I still think you've got, if he ever stays fit for a few games in a row. I mean, Bertrand Traore can do that. Like, Bertrand Traore can play well against AZ Alkmaar and Liga Warsaw and Zielinski. Like, he can do that if he's fit. We've got players that can do that. So I don't think it's not a fit for me anyway.
Yeah, I've forgot all about Bertrand Traore, actually, because I have just kind of mapped out the team, completely forgot all about him. Don't have him
it's so easy to it's so easy to forget him. But I mean, again, I know it's against Hibs, but when he came on for the last 15 minutes or whatever it was in the first leg and won the penalty, he's just like a solid winger. Like, he's fine. If he has to play games for you, it's far from the end of the world. You know, it's like almost like a similar kind of level to Dendoncker, I feel like. You know, if suddenly he has to
good
come in and
point.
do a job for you, he'll do it. He's not going to be spectacular, but he might come up with a moment of something. You know, Traore, we saw it against Leicester, didn't we, last season? So, and then against Forest the following week. So, you know,
we don't get into the Europa Conference League without that goal against Leicester.
No way.
We just don't, and because that was we were playing badly in that game, and then all of a sudden, you know, we really did steal that one. So interesting. Yeah, and look, we only need 2 or 3 moments of brilliance from him. That's all we need from him. As I say, he will be a depth player, someone to come in. And once again, you know, when you're playing on 4 different fronts like that, you're not even talking about players playing games, you're talking about players playing minutes. So you'll often see whenever you see any scouting reports or anything like that they speak about players playing in minutes and their goals per 90 minutes and all that kind of stuff, whenever you're looking at statistical basis. And that's really what you're looking for, because that obviously you're looking for impact players. You're looking for players who can come in and as I say, take those minutes away. And like if Bertrand Traore could rack up, I don't know, 700 minutes for Aston Villa this season, that would be a good, well, in the league, and then everything else on top of it, then in the cups, that would be kind of good for Villa, because that would mean he might have played 7 games from start to finish over the course of the season. As I say, he would have been able to come in a squeeze for us and be that squad player that we need him to be, which is interesting. Getafe have signed Mason Greenwood.
Oh God.
Interesting. Yeah. Looks like that. Looks like the Greek goalkeeper Odysseus is gone to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest are interesting, Mark.
So strange.
They sacked your man, whose name escapes me, but I tweeted about him there 2 days ago. They sacked him in the middle of the season last year because of their transfer strategy. They brought him back midway through this transfer window and then adopted exactly the same transfer strategy when he came back. Weird. I'm not. Yeah, it's really strange. No, I'd say what they thought was they'd probably had conversations with Brennan Johnson, and Brennan Johnson said, "Yeah, I'm going to move on. If you guys get the number that you want, I'm going to move on." And then they went, "Right, we're going to get somebody in here to spend all the money," and they looks like they've spent it well. The Greek goalkeeper is pretty decent. The reason I'm calling him Greek goalkeeper is because I'm no way I'm going to go about pronouncing his surname.
No.
He's more than pretty decent. He's actually a really good goalkeeper. It looks like they're going to bring in Irish centre half, young centre half, Bamadeli as well, who I'm really high on. A very good right-sided centre half for 15 million seems like nothing for him.
Yeah.
And Callum Hudson-Odoi came in as well today. Looks like Divock Origi might even pitch up there as well.
Sangare as well from PSV.
I can't see Sangare going there for 35 million, but stranger things have happened. They've also brought in Nicolas Dominguez as well today from Bologna, or was it Bologna or Genoa? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And and they let Remco Freuler go the opposite way. So they've really strengthened the last few days. But once again, like Steve Cooper is going to be dealing with a brand new, like 8 out of 11 brand new names in his team sheet as times go forward. And look, who knows how sustainable that is, but financially and by staying in the Premier League, because they didn't exactly canter to safety in the Premier League last season. But it'll be interesting for them. It'll be interesting for them for sure. Mark, is there anything else on the transfer window that you really want to remark on? Is there anything else that you I suppose that kind of caught your eye from a Villa point of view, really, or even across the league, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I think just from a Villa perspective, I think just really feeling really positive about the players we have brought in. I think there's every single one of them made sense in some way, and you can see how they're going to kind of fit in. Maybe the only one that at the moment is almost a little bit on the outside looking in, and it's still so early, but is Tielemans, because I was thinking this the other day. I mean, we've played 3 Premier League games, he hasn't started any of them, and he must be thinking, like, this isn't really kind of what I signed up for. Like, he's used to starting games. Like, he was a key player for Leicester. But and don't get me wrong, there's absolutely no reason to drop Douglas Luiz or Boubacar Kamara for him at this point, and he's going to get loads of minutes. But I think it's just still to be determined kind of how he's going to really fit in. That isn't just back up to Luiz, because when he played off the left side against Hibs yesterday, it didn't look all that natural to him. I didn't think. So we'll see on that. But I still think obviously a quality player. And I just think that the thing that I've been thinking about the last few days, well, and really since his assist last night as well, Pau Torres has just took this team, in my opinion, to just a different level of being able to build up from the back. I just think it's the level of comfortability on the ball at centre back that I've never seen. Like in a Villa shirt, I've never seen it. And as much as the players that we have already have done well in the Emery system, this is just different level of natural. And I was thinking, obviously the goal last night, he gets an assist last night, but there's probably been at least 2 or 3 goals already this season that have in some part involved him, that he has been involved in the build-up. He's played a really nice pass down the wing, or just been patient in the build-up and drawn players out and then flicked a pass off to midfielder and off we go. It's just, I think he's just raised the kind of the ceiling of what we can do in terms of in possession. So he's just been everything that, and obviously there is the thing of kind of the strength issue, which is a concern. We saw it against Burnley with the goal he conceded, where he kind of gets rolled. But I just don't think that's going to be that big of a problem, especially if you're pairing him with, Diego Carlos, who's built like a wrestler, So I think that'll be a fine combination. And I think as much of a shame as it is, and it really is, that Mings has gone down, and that leaves a massive void. I think that partnership between those two could be really good. And yeah, just so excited for what he brings. Obviously Diaby, but just the window as a whole has been a massive success, in my opinion.
I didn't ask you about Clement Lenglet. I shaped around doing it earlier on in the podcast. What's your views on Clement Lenglet? I've done a podcast on him as well, and I can see exactly why Unai Emery wanted to bring him in. Obviously, coming from a ball dominant setup that he would have had with Barcelona, a lot of people were kind of iffy about his time at Spurs last season. I've had my say on that, how toxic that club was, how toxic that club is going to be in. Like Ange Postecoglou will get results on the field, but everything outside of Ange Postecoglou in that club is still stinking rotten, because Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy are in trouble. Daniel Levy's in trouble with the fans, and Joe Lewis is in trouble with the feds. So there is a kind of an anchor around their neck from that point of view. But Clement Lenglet, talk to me a small bit about him, because I know that, in case some of you guys don't know, Mark does his own scouting reviews on players as well. You can find him at Mark Oldacres on Twitter as well, and you can see some of the previous scouting reviews that he's done. Have you looked at Lenglet since he's come in, or since he's been rumoured with the club, and what's your views on him?
Yeah, I haven't done a real deep dive yet, but I will get to that. But I've kind of just done a more of a cursory look. But to me, it just makes a lot of sense, because I actually kind of looked into him before we signed Torres, and we were kind of in the market for a ball playing centre back in my head anyway. And this was before Torres came in, and I was looking at who the options could potentially be, and he sort of popped up as a kind of would this make sense? And I sort of came down on maybe not. I think what put me off, and probably what's put a lot of Villa fans off, is he hasn't really enjoyed a good season since the 2021 season, which is, a couple of 2 or 3 years now. He kind of obviously had, several good years at Sevilla, and then was really good his first year at Barcelona, then didn't have such a good year at Barcelona, and then got kind of cast out for the following season, goes to Spurs. And I'm with you totally. There's absolutely no way I'm hanging anything that happened at Spurs on individual players last season. Absolutely no chance. Getting a centre back like him to play in a Conte system, I'm not sure how that was going to work. For us, I think it makes loads of sense as just like he is a premium Pau Torres backup, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to threaten. He's not going to threaten the actual first team. I don't think he's going to really knock Pau Torres out of the team, and I can't see the both of them playing together because of just kind of the lack of strength between the two of them, really, and obviously both being left-footed as well. But he's just, some of the defensive numbers aren't going to really wow you over the last few years. But every single year, even in a bad Spurs team last year, his passing numbers are really, really good. He's just a great passer of the ball. And again, we're talking about people taking minutes. At the moment, if we hadn't have signed Clement Lenglet, suddenly with Ezri Konsa playing right back, quite a bit at the time, it looks like that could be a thing. If that's happening, if you've got Konsa at right back, you've got Carlos at right centre back, and Pau Torres at left centre back, your next centre back on the bench is Callum Chambers. And as much as he's, solid-ish, that's not a situation I really want. I don't really want him to be having to play serious minutes. Whereas now you've basically taken Pau Torres and said, let's take again some minutes off his plate when we're playing some of these Europa Conference League group games that maybe we feel confident, we can get through, or cup games, things like that. He doesn't need to play. You can play Clement Lenglet. You're going to get a similar level of production, if not the same level, but similar. And I think, I mean, to be honest, anyone that Unai Emery signs, I kind of feel like he'll get something out, he'll get a tune out of them anyway. But this just does make a lot of sense for us. And I can't see him being as bad as he was at Spurs. I just can't see that at all.
Yeah, I think it's very much a signing for the system.
Yeah.
I think it's a signing to keep the system ticking over. And I think a couple of the signings we've made this year have been a signing to keep the system ticking over. I think Tielemans was a signing to keep the system ticking over. I think and you mentioned a good point there as well with regards to Callum Chambers. Callum Chambers is obviously going to stay around, that he's going to see minutes this season in competitions as well. But like you said there, we spoke about Bertrand Traore, and there's a case like, he could take minutes in these games. The difference between Bertrand Traore taking minutes and Callum Chambers taking minutes are that if Bertrand Traore is like, and it's one of the things that why I praised Seb Revan, who has just gone to Rotherham on season-long loan after signing a contract extension. I think I feel personally responsible for baiting Rotherham into signing him because of the glowing reference I gave him last night. And the reason I did that was because, look, everybody knows that Omari Kellerman played really well last night. I was impressed with Seb Revan's discipline, his positional discipline, and how he got forward but didn't try and play hero ball there in a game where he could have, to be honest with you. He was solid, he was dependable. And when you play somebody in defence like that, they have to be able to follow orders, they have to be solid, they have to be dependable. And even if they're 7 out of 10, that 7 out of 10 for a defender is better than 7 out of 10 for maybe a Bertrand Traore. And the reason I equate that to is that Bertrand Traore could fart around all game and ping two into the back of the net, and with two balls that come across the box and he's standing at the back post, whereas Callum Chambers or Seb Revan or someone in defence doesn't have that luxury, because every second they get the ball, they need to be on their game. They can't be lackluster, and they have to be concentration monsters, I suppose, from that point of view. And Callum Chambers will give you that, and it's just I don't know. Can he give you that? I don't know. Will teams will maybe target him over a 38 game season, and that's why he's not been a 38 game a season player for the majority of his career. But I'm glad to have him in that rotation. For all the games that we have coming up. To come in at right back, to maybe even play a holding midfielder role, or come in and play that extra fifth defender that Unai Emery did with him last season as well. So, interesting. And he's definitely someone who's going to stay around. And you mentioned Dendoncker, somebody as well who just slips my mind all the time, with this team. And you've got Timur Bunum, and you've got like someone else. He did have a hamstring injury, I think it was. Okay. So he is he isn't going anywhere. He won't even go out on loan. So he's going to be integrated in around the squad. And the emergence of Omari Kellyman. So it's not as bare, I suppose, as we think, albeit that experienced striker out behind Watkins isn't in the squad. But maybe that's a Nicolas Zaniolo that's going to come in there and fill that void. Or maybe it's, as I say, Moussa Diaby plays up top. Or hey, put McGinn up there. Let him use his arse to get around, to hold off defenders. That'd be something.
But I think Zaniolo definitely kind of has he has at least all the physical attributes. If you did need him for some reason, if something happened to Watkins and Duran or whatever it was, he definitely has the physical attributes to play and lead the line. He's got the pace and the strength. So that wouldn't be an issue, and he can hold the ball up. So obviously he does have good technical quality as well. It's just that kind of, until you sometimes you put someone in a position and you realize they don't have the kind of the mental kind of positioning side of it, which could be interesting. But he's definitely got as an emergency option if he had to play up there. You could do a lot worse, I think.
Jadon Philogene has gone to Hull, as we all expected. We were just talking about it now. I think the next shoe to drop will be Coutinho, with the Qatari league being open almost concurrently with the Saudi league. I think it closes earlier than the Saudi league, but it's open past our window. I could still see Coutinho going. once again, massive financial fair play saving for us, as well. Second
Yeah.
highest earner within the club, and off the books. And if they're willing to pay us a fee as well for him, well, then I think we should milk every single one of those pounds, sterling, dollars, euros, whatever they're going to pay it in. I think we should milk every single euro we possibly can to get any return for the, like, the rumors of 20 million that they wanted to buy Coutinho for. Villa would be bonkers not to
Absolutely
accept it. Like,
snap your hand off.
bonkers,
Snap your hand
regardless
off.
of the squad size.
Yeah.
Bonkers, because
No,
you make a
100%.
profit on a player and get his amortized wages off your balance sheet for the next few years. You'd be insane, and that's why earlier on today I said I think it's getting to the stage where Liverpool will be insane not to accept the offer from Mo Salah as well.
Yeah.
I think I think we're getting to the stage there. Push Gakpo further forward again, back into his natural position. I know Mo Salah is their talisman, and he's someone who guarantees them 20-25 goals a season. But 200 million is a lot of dash. Like, it's a lot of dash.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's an interesting one. We'll see what happens with that one. It's 10 minutes past 11, and I know it's a Friday night. But I'm sure I'm sure you've got things to do. I'm sure you have a busy day ahead of you and work-wise tomorrow, Mark. So I'm not going to hold on to you too much longer. But final thoughts, I suppose. Who do you think had the best transfer window out of anyone in the Premier League this year? And I shouldn't really have sprung this one on you. I should have given you time to think about this one.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. I mean, it's so difficult because a lot of the teams that kind of win sign some good players and then the games start and it doesn't look so good. Like, I think you'd have said like Man United had a solid window, but then the games started and they've won 2 of them, but they don't look great. It's going to sound just really biased, but I just love our window. I think we are definitely right up there in terms of haven't really overpaid for anybody. We've added what we mostly needed to add. I mean, you've got the kind of the teams that have gone. You could always just say Chelsea because they've signed that many players that some of them are going to be good, but also, what are they getting themselves into? Like that's a big part of it.
Pochettino was moany today, but we need time. We've spent, like, I think he actually might have even said we've spent £1 billion over the last 3 transfer windows, but we need time to bed all these players in. And like anybody with any bit of scruples looking at him must like give me a break. I know he's inherited the situation.
Like, want sympathy from us,
he's inherited the situation, and he hasn't any input in the players that are bought for that club. I think Liverpool, who we play at the weekend, I think Liverpool have had a damn good
they have a good window. Yeah,
they have really bought well in that midfield. Even Ryan Gravenberch that they brought today, a lot of eyebrows, should I say, were raised at. Yes, he signed for Barcelona, for Bayern Munich for 18 million only like 18 months ago, and now he's going for 30 million. He's barely kicked the ball longer. Really talented. If Villa had signed him, I would have been absolutely over the moon. Really talented player, can play 6'8", 6 position, 8 position. He's going to be good for them as well. Obviously, they bought 4 midfielders, and all of them are going to really progress that team. Alexis McAllister, Szoboszlai has already found his feet. Endo's come in there, and he's going to offer that engine that they miss from Jordan Henderson, and Gravenberch is going to come in at 21 years of age and be an anchor in that midfield as well. So I think Liverpool have done really well. And you know what? I'm going to shout out to Burnley. I think even though they've signed a ball of players, I think they've been cute in who they've signed. I said it beforehand. They've signed very young players with lots of potential. And if they get relegated, those players will likely want to continue their development and stay with the club to get them re-promoted again. I actually, and based on the players they've signed, they've signed a lot of people who have 1 or 2 Belgian caps at a young age, things like that. They've been once again, they've been smart. They've done a Moneyball approach for sure. But they've been smart, and if 2 of them go on to reach their potential, it'll cover the losses probably. And if 2 go on to reach their potential, it'll cover the losses on 4 other ones, and so on and so forth. And look, they were rumored to have bid and agreed like 35 million for Ian Matson. What's his name? Ian Matson. Matson today from Chelsea. 35 million pounds for Burnley. That's some going. And there's a lot of teams spending a lot of money. I think Villa have kept a lot of bullets in the chamber. But we'll see whether they've been smart to do that or not. And let's not forget, in the world of FFP, I don't know, and I can't do the accounting for Aston Villa. I'm not going to even attempt it. But based on last year's figures, I've seen on Twitter that there's a £70 million hole to be filled based on unpaid transfer fees. Now that's not bad in comparison to other clubs around the league. There's massive, but from a sustainability point of view for Aston Villa, getting into Europe has been brilliant for us. Potentially next season we could be sustainable and be on a zero FFP footing, and then could go bonkers in the transfer market. But I don't understand all this stuff, and I'm sure UEFA will have closed the loophole there somewhere, or we'll all be we'll all be supporting Saudi teams at that stage anyway.
Indeed,
so
who knows what it's going to look like in a year? But
Exactly.
I think that's the good thing. I think what Villa fans, what we should be happy about as well, is that we're a club that do spend money, and the money is there to spend. But there's nothing since Gerrard left anyway. There's which in fairness isn't that long ago, but even for most of when he was here, we haven't really done anything silly. I think everything's been very calculated. There hasn't been someone that we've signed. Even Coutinho, which hasn't worked out, obviously. We didn't end up paying that much for him. Okay, the wages are what they are, but it's going to be no harm, no foul in the end when he inevitably leaves. I think everything that we've done has been smart. When I was watching the game last night, I was thinking, there's some good value in this squad. I mean, you think not just the free transfers, Kamara and Tielemans, but what did Douglas Luiz cost? What, about 12 million or something like that from Man City? Matty Cash didn't cost much. Even Ollie Watkins cost a bit more, but he's lived up to it. There really hasn't been that many players in there that you think, we're really going to take a loss on them.
There's none. Like I can't think of a player before this transfer window. I can't think of a player we had in our squad that had depreciated in value.
No, not probably since the players that we signed when we got promoted.
Yeah,
like Wesley, like players like that, probably. Yeah. Which we knew that was going to be the case. We knew that those were kind of, we've got to get through a season here. We need a squad, almost like what Forest did last year, not quite to the same level, but similarly, where it's just kind of, we've got to sign 15 players. So. Yeah, I think we're in a really good place. That's just my final thoughts on it. Is just like we're heading upwards. The players that were brought in are going to help. The team. We've got quality players all throughout the pitch. We've got a great manager. There's no reason we can't challenge for at least, if not better, where we finished last season, even with Europe. I think, and have a really good run. I mean, I was looking at kind of the teams that could even fall into the Conference League. Realistically, we are the strongest team in this competition. If you were just looking at it as a neutral on paper, so it's there to be won for us, really, even if we're not starting the kind of the first team in some of the games. So yeah, I think it's all good stuff. It's all great.
Yeah, a couple of people talking about Coutinho is depreciating. Well, I purposely didn't mention him based on the figures that have been quoted coming from Qatar of them wanting to spend 20 million on him.
Well,
we bought him for 17.
Yeah.
That I suppose actually there could be an argument made, and there's a very strong argument to be made. The Bundy and Bailey were depreciating players, are depreciating players, but until they're actually sold, we won't know that for certain. They're still offering parts to this team, So, but I think Wesley is the big one, and Bjorn Engels, I think.
Those are some of the big ones, aren't they? Yeah, but I think even Bailey, I think he's. And my patience, I've stuck by him for a long time, and my patience was kind of wearing thin by the start of the season and the first game or two, because it just wasn't, especially the Newcastle game, it just wasn't there. But he's shown he can do it. Like he's got it in him, and if he can find any level of consistency and just be kind of a just above average Premier League winger, there's value in that, and he can produce for us. And I think hopefully having Diaby next to him, I think that's helped. Potentially, they seem to just have a good link up, and I think it's just opened things up for him a little bit more. He seems a bit more confident. So yeah, hopefully that's there for him. And if he could ever have a good game away from home, that would be a start.
Yeah,
I think it's literally impossible. He can't do it.
No, that would definitely be a start. Right, we're definitely going to leave it there at this stage. Mark, thanks a million for jumping on. Paddy is on his jollies again. Paddy's has the life of Riley, and me stuck here in my podcasting boudoir again. But listen, thanks a million everybody for jumping on. Pity we didn't have more to to talk about from an incoming point of view. But look, that's the transfer window done. For those of you who love the transfer window, condolences. Like me, I love the transfer window. For those of you who find it all a bit too tedious and hate all the links to players, well then rejoice, because football and factuality is back on the menu again, and that starts again this Sunday at Anfield. And we will be doing a team sheet tantrum, and we'll be doing a post-match show from after that as well. So if you like what you see, come and join us. And Paddy will be Paddy's at the game this weekend, I think. So actually, I know Paddy's at the game this weekend. I know, but so he will be joining us from somewhere in and around the ground at some stage, either before or after the game as well. So here's hoping for that. Mark, thanks very much for joining us today. As I say, you can find Mark on Twitter at Mark Oldacres. That is right, isn't it? You haven't changed it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I haven't changed it. Yeah, that's right.
You haven't changed it. And as I say, Mark will be popping on the podcast a lot more this season, just to give us his insight and stuff as well. And I really enjoyed talking to you, Mark. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. So we're going to leave it at that. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you again maybe tomorrow for a preview, and then on Sunday we'll have the team sheet tantrum and the post match. Transfers are done, and the real stuff happens now with regards to football, and long may it continue. So stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.